Hey, how's it going, everyone? I want to touch in this video on the idea of the inevitability of socialism, which, if you are at all active in Marxist debates, whether online or not, you will see pop up every now and again. This idea holds that socialism is destined, because of the contradictions in capitalism, to arise sooner or later. Socialism is seen as a necessary product that history will bear. To be fair, this idea does have a lot of grounding in the work of Marx, Engels, and Lenin, where, in a variety of passages, especially in the more agitational texts, socialism is spoken of as inevitable. However, I want to flesh out a bit this notion of inevitability and ask, can we, from a scientific point of view, actually say that socialism is inevitable? My short answer to this question, or at least to how it is usually phrased, is no. Socialism is itself not inevitable. What is inevitable is capitalism's continuous reproduction of the objective conditions for its own overcoming. For this overcoming to be realized or actualized, that is, for socialism to actually arise, a subjective factor is necessary. This includes the development of revolutionary organizations, grounded in the most developed segments of the working masses, and guided by a certain revolutionary discipline and ethic, and equipped with the dialectical materialist outlook, the most advanced form of thinking those beings in whom nature becomes self-conscious have been able to develop under certain historical circumstances. This advanced group of the working class leaders, or in other words, this vanguard, is then tasked with taking elements or kernels from the incoherent and contradictory common sense of the masses and reorienting those towards a more advanced socialist or class consciousness. This should occur not only at the level of thinking, but also at the level of emotions. The passions and ethical life of the masses must also be transformed in the process of struggling for socialism, of the struggle for the hegemony of the working class. This subjective sphere is as indispensable for socialism as the objective conditions capitalism's crisis provide. You can have all the crises of capitalism you want, but if this field of human agency is not put to work, if actual concrete individuals do not express a collective will, a form of socialized agency, socialism will never come about. As Lenin always noted, no crisis ever leads to the ruling class and the ruling order just collapsing on its own. It must always be toppled over. It can shake all at once, but it will never fall on its own. The notion of socialism's inevitability is a comforting agitational idea, but the fatalism in its agitational potential contains its opposite. Just like it can become a source of confidence in action, it can also become a force of passivity, a force which leads people to sitting on the sidelines of the struggle, simply because they believe that whether we fight now or not, socialism is inevitable. The dialectical materialist outlooks overcomes both the shallow fatalism discourse on socialism as inevitable and the adventurist position which sees socialism as the product of the sheer will of a select few. The actualization of socialism is a combination of both objective conditions, the crises of capital and their culmination in a general crash, and subjective conditions, that is, the development of consciousness in the masses via the educative and organizational function of a revolutionary vanguard. It is true, as Hegel noted and Marx and Engels accepted, that objective historical conditions themselves function as the ground for the development of subjective conditions which align themselves with the movement of history. This is what Hegel called the cunning of reason. However, this alignment cannot be thought of mechanically or fatalistically. It must be understood dialectically, which is to say, in a manner which doesn't place an impenetrable gulf between historical determination on one end and human freedom or human agency on the other, but which sees freedom itself as a form of rational action that is conscious of necessity or historical determination. In this way, determination and freedom are not seen as incompatible opposites, but as in unity, in a certain form of identity indifference, where they are mutually reinforcing and interdependent. In sum, is socialism inevitable? No. What is inevitable is the crises of capitalism and their periodic generalization in the form of crashes. Additionally, it is also inevitable that these crises create fertile soil for the development of a collective agency which can propel history forward. However, it is up to us to cultivate with the soil history has provided us. Thank you for listening, and I wanted to plug, before I end, the recent publication of my book, Marxism and the Dialectical Materialist Worldview, an anthology of classical Marxist texts on dialectical materialism. It is, to be honest, the only one of its kind that collects more than 50 documents from more than 10 of the classical Marxist authors of on writings concerning dialectical materialism. So I have people there that people like Marx, Engels, Lenin, Stalin, Mao. But then I also have figures which you maybe haven't heard of, like J.D. Bernal, J.B.S. Haldane, Messiah Algin, Evald Ilyenkov, who were brilliant thinkers and who also tackled the question of answering what is dialectical materialism. Not just using it, but what do we mean when we talk about the dialectical materialist outlook? In the introduction that I wrote, I also provide a way of systematically thinking about what it means when in one place we hear about dialectical laws, in another one we hear about the ascension from the abstract to the concrete, in another one we hear something else. So what is the relationship of all of these things, of all of these statements or ways of formulating what dialectics is? What relationship do each one of them have to the other? So I try to systematize and explain what the outlook is in a way in which hopefully everyone can understand. So you can check that out. I will link it to the description. And again, thank you for watching the video, and peace.